While their mother broke barriers as country music's first female superstar, Kitty Wells's children faced their own dramatic twists of fate. From a Hollywood television star who became the sole survivor of a beloved sitcom cast, to a daughter found dead alone in her apartment, to a youngest child who walked away from fame entirely, each sibling's story took unexpected turns. Here's what really happened to Kitty Wells's children. Ruby Wright. Ruby Wright was found dead in her Madison, Tennessee apartment on September 27, 2009, at the age of 69, after battling heart problems for several years. The discovery of Kitty Wells's eldest daughter alone in her home marked a tragic end to a life that had begun with such musical promise and family connection. Born Ruby Wright on October 27, 1939, she was thrust into the spotlight from an early age as the daughter of country music legends Kitty Wells and Johnny Wright. At just 13 years old, she was signed by RCA Records, though she had to use the stage name Ruby Wells because there was already a popular big band singer named Ruby Wright at the time. This early confusion over her identity would prove to be just the beginning of a career that often placed her in the shadows of more famous performers. During the 1950s, Ruby became part of an all-girl trio called Nita, Rita, and Ruby, working alongside Anita Carter from the famous Carter family and Rita Robbins. The group recorded under the guidance of legendary producer Chet Atkins and enjoyed some success on record, but they remained strictly a recording act and never toured or made personal appearances because Rita suffered from severe stage fright that eventually led to the trio's breakup. After the group disbanded, Ruby began performing with her younger sister Carol Sue as the Wright Sisters, signing with Cadence Records, again under Chet Atkins' direction. The label saw them as a female version of their popular act, the Everly Brothers. Ruby also made recordings with her father and uncle Jack Anglin as part of Johnny and Jack and Ruby, keeping the music firmly within the family circle. Ruby's biggest solo success came in 1964 with her recording of Dern Ya, which served as an answer song to Roger Miller's hit Dang Me. The song represented the peak of her individual recording career and showcased her ability to tap into the popular country music trends of the time. Despite this success, Ruby never achieved the widespread recognition that her famous mother had earned. Throughout the late 1960s, Ruby appeared regularly on her parents' syndicated television show, The Kitty Wells, Johnny Wright Family Show, which began in 1969. The program gave all three Wright children a platform to showcase their talents. But by this time, Ruby was already an experienced performer rather than a young artist trying to make her mark. As the years passed, Ruby gradually withdrew from the performing spotlight, choosing to step back from the music industry that had defined her family's life. In the 1980s, she and her sister Carol Sue took on the responsibility of running the family's museum and tourist attraction in Nashville, working to preserve their parents' legacy while maintaining their own privacy. By the time of her mother's 90th birthday celebration at the Ernest Tubb Record Shop's Texas Troubadour Theater, Ruby's public appearances had become rare. Her death came just 1 month before what would have been her 70th birthday. And in a poignant coincidence, her father, Johnny Wright, died exactly 2 years later on September 27, 2011. Ruby left behind her parents, a son named Larry Duke Stevenson, daughters Kitty Irvin and Corey Cluck, her siblings Bobby and Carol Sue, and several grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Bobby Wright. Bobby Wright achieved fame as a teenage actor playing Willie Moss on the hit television series McHale's Navy from 1962 to 1966. But his path to Hollywood stardom began quite by accident. Born John Robert Wright on March 30, 1942, in Charleston, West Virginia, he was the middle child and only son of country music legends Kitty Wells and Johnny Wright, growing up surrounded by music, but initially showing little interest in pursuing it as a career. Bobby's childhood was spent largely in Louisiana, where his parents were regular performers on the country music television program Louisiana Hayride. At age 8, he appeared with his parents on the show and became part of their recordings 3 years later, when the family moved back to Nashville in 1958, as his parents became headliners at the Grand Ole Opry. Despite being an able guitarist and vocalist, Bobby had his sights set on something other than music. His entry into acting came through an unexpected opportunity when he learned that television and film director Peter Tewksbury had a role available for a young Southern boy who could play guitar. Bobby made the trip to Hollywood to test for Tewksbury. But while he didn't get that particular role, his screen test was seen by the producer of McHale's Navy, who immediately cast him in the new television comedy series. Under the stage name John Wright, Bobby appeared throughout the entire 4-year run of McHale's Navy as guitar-strumming Southerner Willie Moss, the radio operator aboard the PT-73. The show starred Ernest Borgnine and became a popular World War II-themed sitcom that attracted millions of viewers each week. Bobby's character provided both comic relief and musical moments, often playing his guitar for the crew during lighter scenes. While McHale's Navy was still in production, Bobby decided to explore his musical roots and began working with his mother on one of her 1965 albums. However, he quickly became disenchanted with the Hollywood scene after the show ended in 1966 and made the decision to move back to Nashville to start a serious music career, leaving behind the glitz and glamour of television stardom. Bobby Wright recorded for major labels including Decca, ABC, and United Artists Records between 1967 and 1979. Charting 21 singles on the Hot Country Songs charts, his highest charting release came in 1971 with Here I Go Again, which reached number 13 and represented the peak of his country music success. Despite his musical achievements, Bobby found that his television fame often overshadowed his recording career. Throughout the 1970s, Bobby appeared with his parents and sisters on the syndicated Kitty Wells Family Show and continued touring with his parents until they retired from the road in 2007. He performed with them at international venues, including the International Festival of Country Music at Wembley in 1974. Today, at age 82, Bobby Wright holds the distinction of being the last surviving cast member from the entire McHale's Navy television series. A melancholy honor that connects him to a bygone era of television entertainment and makes him a living link to the show's legacy. Carol Sue Wright. Carol Sue Wright had the earliest taste of success among Kitty Wells's children, recording the hit How Far Is Heaven with her mother at age 14 in 1956. But she deliberately chose to step away from music to focus on family life rather than pursue the spotlight that had defined her parents' careers. Born on June 12, 1941, in Nashville, Tennessee, Carol Sue was the youngest of the 3 Wright children and began singing with her parents from an early age, showing natural talent that suggested she could follow in her mother's groundbreaking footsteps. The recording of How Far Is Heaven in December 1955 captured a moment when Carol Sue had to stand on a chair to reach the microphone, creating an endearing image of a young girl joining her famous mother in the recording studio. The duet became a notable success, reaching number 11 on the Billboard Country chart and giving Carol Sue her first and only major hit record at an age when most teenagers were still discovering their talents. During the late 1950s, Carol Sue sang with her sister Ruby as the Wright Sisters, recording under the production guidance of legendary producer Chet Atkins for the Cadence label. Atkins and the record company saw them as the female version of the label's popular act, the Everly Brothers, and had high hopes for their potential success. The sisters' harmonies blended naturally, and their family connection to country music royalty gave them immediate credibility in the industry. Carol Sue toured for a time with the family show and appeared on her parents' syndicated television program, The Kitty Wells Johnny Wright Family Show, which began in 1969. However, Unlike her siblings, who continued pursuing their individual careers in music and entertainment, Carol Sue made the conscious decision to limit her performances and step back from the public eye, choosing instead to devote her time and energy to raising her own family. Her marriage to John Sturdivant Sr., a Nashville Music Row executive, kept the Wright family's connections to the country music industry strong, but shifted Carol Sue's role from performer to behind-the-scenes influence. This marriage positioned her within the business side of Nashville's music community, where she could maintain her family's legacy without the pressures and demands of constant public performance that had shaped her childhood. In the 1980s, Carol Sue took on a new role in preserving her parents' legacy when she and her sister Ruby assumed responsibility for running the family's museum and tourist attraction in Nashville. This venture allowed them to share their parents' remarkable story with fans and visitors while maintaining control over how their family's history was presented to the public. Throughout her adult life, Carol Sue maintained her privacy and stayed largely out of the public spotlight, making rare appearances only for significant family occasions, such as her mother's 90th birthday celebration. Her choice to prioritize family life over fame represented a different path from the one taken by her siblings, demonstrating that success could be measured in ways beyond chart positions and public recognition. Carol Sue's decision to step away from performing while remaining connected to the music industry through her husband's career and the family museum showed her commitment to preserving her parents' legacy without sacrificing her own personal desires for a quieter life.